If we were the cat in the hat, who would be the cat and who would be the hat?
I'm not going to answer that, but I'm going to be thing 1.
Damn it. Fine. I'm thing A.
And with that settled, we're back with the critics and the crowd. As always, Liz
and Steele
are here to cover the most divisive media out there. Why did professionals gush over that indie darling that audiences scorned online? We're here for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help us, Dr. Seuss.
Theodore Geisel is with us in spirit today as we cover The Cat in the Hat. I have to say that I'm shocked that we're covering this, Liz. I was sure this was just a straight dumpster fire across the board. It was savaged when it first came out, bombed at the box office, and played a big part in derailing Mike Meyers' live-action career. But after you recommended it, I saw the audience score. Holy Moses, I was not expecting it to have an audience re-examination like that, and I have to say I'm intrigued, because I honestly would have never watched this film otherwise.
Yes, sir. The Cat in the Hat has become somewhat of a cult classic since its box office debut over 20 years ago, though it'll never be mentioned in the same breath as the animated Dr. Seuss movies, such as The Lorax, The Grinch, and the upcoming 3D adaptation of the original book. There is a solid contingent of people out there who love this movie. Ready for the roller coaster ride?
More like a log flume for reasons that we'll get into shortly.
The stats. Let's start at the beginning with Dr. Seuss's children's book, The Cat in the Hat. Understandably, finding most children's reader books, like Dick and Jane, to be dull, good old Theodore Geisel, that's the real Dr. Seuss, decided to pen a book with the most common 100 words in the English language. It was an immediate smash hit with audiences and is still widely read today. And though Dr. Seuss was known before the cat showed up, it certainly cemented his status as a titan of children's literature. As an aside, Mr. Geisel said that killing Dick and Jane was the proudest bit of his career.
Still, it would take decades for the book to make it to the silver screen. There have been television specials based on Seuss's work, most notably the Grinch Christmas special, and television shows such as The Wobulous World of Dr. Seuss, but Geisel, and eventually his widow, were reticent to see his unrestrained imagination tamed by the limitations of cinema at the time.
Finally, however, the estate relented, and the result was Jim Carrey's version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That was a box office smash from 2000, pulling in over $350 million worldwide, along with oodles of toy sales, DVDs, rentals, and all of those pre-streaming holiday goodies. Despite not being a hit with the critics, it was the top domestic draw of the year and proved that the weird world of Dr. Seuss could translate to the big screen if handled with proper care. Director Ron Howard had spun a short book into Christmas gold thanks to Jim Carrey's star power and a 6-hour daily routine in the makeup chair. So, Universal Pictures wanted more.
Super producer Brian Glazer, most famous for his collaborations with Ron Howard, but who at that point produced dozens of films, numerous hits, and won many awards, decided to use that formula with a new cast and crew. Heading the production was director Bo Welch, an award-winning production designer of Batman Returns, Edward Scissorhands, Beetlejuice, Ghostbusters 2, and too many others to mention. He directed episodes of television, though this was his big screen debut, and he obviously had the imagination chops to handle this story.
Welch had to wrangle a star-studded cast. Instead of Jim Carrey in the makeup, it was Mike Meyers, the SNL alum who had made Wayne's World Austin Powers and had just come off a smash hit as the lead voice in Shrek.
To make Liz happy, let's give some credits she'll love for the two kid leads. Dakota Fanning, who would go on to play Jane Filtori in the Twilight series, was kid sister Sally Walden. Spencer Breslin, the future Prince Jacques in The Princess Diaries 2, plays older brother Conrad Walden. There's also Alec Baldwin, Kelly Preston, Amy Hill, and, special call-out, Dan Castellaneta, Homer Simpson, as the voices of Thing 1 and 2, an all-star cast.
Thank you, Steele. Yeah, it actually does make me happy. Iconic roles. They would go on to craft 2003's Dr. Seuss's The Cat in the Hat. A synopsis courtesy of Rotten Tomatoes.
In this live-action film based on the favorite children's tale, the troublemaking Cat in the Hat arrives at the home of bored young Sally Walden and her brother Conrad, while their mother is out. The family's pet fish objects to the cat's presence, but that doesn't stop the hat-wearing giant feline from trying to have fun, no matter how much destruction is left in his wake.
The film dropped in November of 2003, hoping to capitalize on holiday cinema going in the same way that The Grinch had. It didn't work. The film immediately sank with critics and audiences alike. Only 10% of registered pros on Rotten Tomatoes gave the movie a positive rating, and the film barely made more than its $109 million estimated budget. But with the costs of marketing and the cuts from theaters, that assuredly meant that it lost money.
What went wrong? That depends on who you talk to. A lot of parents were dismayed by some of the more adult humor found throughout the film, while others felt that, much like the earlier version of The Grinch, there just wasn't enough meat on the bones of this children's book to maintain an entire feature film. The consensus from Rotten Tomatoes is as follows.
Filled with double entendres and potty humor, this cat falls flat.
And yet, somehow, this film has become a cult classic of a sort. While only 10% of critics like this film on Rotten Tomatoes, over 58% of audiences do, just a couple hairs short of fresh. That 48-point difference is 2 stars apart, a significant difference. What has changed in the intervening years that has given this bomb a second chance of exploding on the cultural zeitgeist? Was that metaphor too forced?
Initial thoughts.
This film definitely shaped humor. It's cultural and generational understanding that I can't quite put my finger on. Somehow, we all, Gen Z, older Gen Alpha, watch this film and it bonds us in a way I can't even begin to describe. It's the humor, the fever dream of it all. It's the, what did we just watch? But I think I liked it. Also, maybe it had something to do with the rise of DVD players and how many copies of Cat in the Hat were released, because I sure know that me and all of my cousins had one.
I only ever saw clips of Cat in the Hat. I'm one of the few people who actually genuinely enjoys Jim Carrey's version of The Grinch, so you'd think I'd be the right target for it, but I felt it was a little too young for me, and the reviews were savage. And there was no real reason for me to tune in. I liked Bo Welch's design work, but I knew nothing of his directorial style. I've loved Mike Meyers and lots of things, but even he wasn't enough to make me shell out money for a movie ticket or DVD rental. And yet, I'll admit, I've caught clips of this film over the years on TV and in the background of bars, seriously.
What?
Yeah. Typically around Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day and like weird holidays. I know. And there were a couple of things that I genuinely laughed at. I was hoping that maybe the Cat in the Hat was aimed at the wrong audience, that people still hadn't gotten over the Grinch, that maybe this actually was a diamond in the rough, or perhaps a cat in the hat. Yeah, sorry, I petered out there.
The last time I watched this, I was a kid, like really 6, 7 maybe, and I was staying over at a cousin's house for a sleepover, and we watched it, and it ended, and I was so scared to sleep over that I just stayed up the whole night, literally watched the sun rise. I could not sleep. Sorry, guys. I think I just used you as my own personal sounding board.
And when did you discover this part of yourself?
And how does that make you feel?
Our story begins on the corner of Main and Montrube in the spotless real estate office of Hank Humberflube. And yes, that is the extent of our rhyming this episode. Single mother Joan Walden, one of Humberflube's employees, is constantly stymied by the departures of babysitters, the oddities of her 2 children, Conrad and Sally, and an upcoming party for her germophobic boss, who threatens to fire Miss Walden if her house is a mess.
That's going to be a problem. Because while Sally is a rule follower who has lost all of her friends due to her type A personality, she makes to-do lists in order to accomplish other to-do lists. Love her. Conrad is the kind of kid who likes indoor luge, emptying out drawers for the sake of the art of it, and needling his mother's boyfriend, next-door neighbor Larry Conrad, but please, call him Lawrence. Lawrence comes calling that minute, and he's itching for something.
Stop! This is a family movie.
Is it? Did you see the way Joan was cleaning the wood and she was talking to Lawrence? You think that was a mistake?
Anyway, Lawrence is itching to get Conrad into a military academy. It's only 8 hours away. He and Conrad have a tete-a-tete, and though Joan doesn't relish the idea of sending Conrad away, his behavior is intolerable. Forced to return to the office, Joan employs Mrs. Kwan, who is lethargic to the point of narcolepsy, to watch over the children. Conrad has dozens of rules. Sally begs for some of her own, and then there's the big one. Nobody is to step foot in the living room, which has to be clean for her party. Conrad wishes he had a different mother, and Joan admits that sometimes she wishes that for him too.
I love Mrs. Quad so much.
She's hilarious.
She's not featured in this film, but she's so featured in this film. The gag of every time they take her open the closet She's in there hanging still asleep. That is so crazy.
It is funny. I really like that visual. The visual gags in this, when played straight, as straight as it can be, are great.
I heard.
And I feel like the opening of this does do a pretty decent job of setting the surrealness of this world. It might be a little too surreal because of what we're about to get with the cat in his world. But if anybody has seen Edward Scissorhands or Beetlejuice, like, you will instantly recognize this style.
Exactly. I was going to say right away we're thrown into this vibrant, stylized Seussian world, and I really enjoy that. The set design is amazing.
As a father, seeing Conrad empty out every drawer looking for a few things is more horrific than any Saw film. I needed Conrad to be a little more likable. He was really unlikable right from the top. Sally was too, but I understood her character. And so I understood the things that she was going through. And I know that their journey is going to be that they're going to become better kids, more like in the middle, as the cat will say. I needed a few more redeeming qualities for Conrad.
This is true. He irked me the whole time, but he's always irked me since I was a kid watching it because I relate to Sally. I'm very type A, so my type A-ness was like, please stop, I can't. I love the choices Dakota is making from the second she's on screen. Incredible. She is a diva in the literal best meaning of the word.
She's great. Also great, Alec Baldwin.
Oh, I'm going to talk about him more profusely. But the little Palm Pilot she has, is that a Palm Pilot?
Yeah, it looks like it.
I didn't know what that was. I was like,
yeah.
Blackberry? What is that?
That's something. I don't know.
Oh, you don't know? Okay, I thought it was like maybe like you would know because we're a different generation.
There are some small things here and throughout the film. Obviously, this is a movie about a cat in a hat, so I don't want to nitpick too much, but...
I'm sorry. I just realized what we're doing.
Yep.
We're literally talking about... This movie's about a cat in a damn hat.
Yep. The babysitter is leaving at 9:02 in the morning because she can't hack it anymore. Is this the summer? Like, what's going on? Apparently, Joan has money because Lawrence wants to marry her for her money, but she doesn't have money for long-term care. Like, I just don't get some of the details on this world, right?
It's so strange. I want to point out and talk about your feelings on this. Let me know if you agree or disagree.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone feels, except for the kids, everyone feels like caricatures.
Yeah, I think it's a children's film, so they're trying to build them more into archetypal structures. Understandable. I wish that with all the time they have to build this out from such a short book, they had dug a little bit deeper into everybody. There's only so much you can really do with a villain like Larry in this film because you need that villain.
Right.
I think that they do an okay job, quote unquote, with the cat. We'll get into that in just a second. I think that Sally is great. I think Conrad and Joan could have used a little more work here. Those are like the big notes. I mean, we also talk about Mrs. Kwan, who's a literal prop in this.
Oh my God. We'll get into her prop-ness later. The day turns sour with rain. Conrad witnesses Lawrence up to no good next door. Mrs. Kwan falls asleep watching Taiwanese parliament debates, and the children try to find ways to amuse themselves. That's when they literally hear a bump in the night. Afternoon. Upstairs, they meet the cat in the hat. A humongous... Jolly talking cat in a red and white striped hat. Where did he come from? Well, when a mommy cat and a daddy cat love each other very much...
Stop. This is a family movie.
The cat in the hat himself was about to put his one index finger into a hole made by the fingers on the other hand. He later looks at a photo of Joan and pulls it out like a centerfold as his hat erects to full length. Yeah.
The cat is there to help the kids have fun, to get Conrad out of his shenanigans, and to get Sally out of her funk. His funometer has them correctly pegged as control freak and rule breaker. The cat has his work set out for him, starting with a musical number. Somebody downstairs disagrees. Not Mrs. Kwan. She's still dead asleep, even after the cat hangs her up in the closet like a coat. It's the family fish who can, somehow, talk. Well, there's a talking anthropomorphic cat upstairs, so sure, let's go with it. The cat and the kids ignore the fish and begin a barrage of pranks and games. Their fun has started.
Oh, I don't want to forget to talk about this part with the I always loved the musical number with the glamour and almost like the Chicago circa 2002-ness of it all. Like all I care about vibes. I smiled watching it all over again, and I forgot that he came out as like a Carmen Miranda. Oh my gosh! And it was crazy. But I loved it, but it was crazy.
The cat appearing really, really came out of left field. Up until this point, I found this whole world zany and madcap, but actually kind of coherent with its rules. I needed to understand why the cat appeared at this point in the film, particularly as things are about to ratchet up in insanity.
Absolutely agree. We are completely all gas, no brakes when he comes out. And at times it's fun, and others you are just holding on to your seat for dear life. I will say, I feel like he's supposed to not make sense because, he's like the bringer of chaos, but I'm just like,
I liked him when he was like the cool, fun, big kid, unrestrained. When he's not mugging for the camera. There's a line where he says, yeah, the fish is talking, but is he really saying anything? I thought that was hilarious. And when he was like, how did you get here? I drove. Like those kind of things where he is the epitome of what Conrad is and what Sally kind of wishes she was, like the big kid, and then he recognized, like in the original book, doing all this stuff that you want to actually is like not cool and not fun. I wanted more of that rather than more of the cowardly line, where he's mugging to the camera, which is a lot.
Every time, I think.
We talked about this before. Sally, she begs for rules and is told no chewing tobacco. To fix their fun, the cat offers to give them shots in the knees or give them a musical number, to which Sally replies, how many shots? I'm still laughing when I think about that. She was genuinely funny, and Dakota Fanning is great in this role.
Absolutely. I can't agree more. I feel like a lot of us watching can resonate with her, the sort of calmer type A presence. She has she has really funny quips and knows exactly how to deliver them. She's my favorite character throughout this whole movie.
More questionable humor, singing about balls being cut off, talking about how the fish swims where he pees, having a watermelon cut in half and covering the cat's ass, which actually he needs because later on we get a glimpse of his bare butt crack as he pretends to be a mechanic. The cat burping up, let's call it phlegm, all over the children. I can see how Mrs. Geisel would have concerns about the potty humor here.
I was sitting there, mouth agape, Steele, at how many very inappropriate innuendos there were. I mean, even in the first 10 minutes of the cat being on screen, I feel like some of it's a little too edgy, okay? Like the mom's, the picture, and then the eventual dirty hoe line, which is really funny. But whoa. It feels like they're sort of leaning too hard to sort of make this something that adults would also love to watch. As a kid, I thought it was funny, but as an adult, I'm just thinking, this is very, very questionable.
I don't mind adult humor. In fact, I love adult humor. It's, could I watch this with my child? And the answer is no.
No.
Why did his hat get so big and erect?
No, don't ask me. Look away. Turn it off. I will say that for my quarrels with it right now, there are so many quotable lines that still land today. Like, honey, it was ruined when she bought it. And then the, let's check under the hood. And then the whole infomercial, like, anything? Yeah, anything. I'll get you. And it'll look like a bloody accident. That's questionable.
Very questionable.
Oh my God, wait, it's funny though. But it's bad. Also, one last thing, I just want to give compliments. Again, I have to say compliments where compliments are due. Rewatching this, I realized Sean Hayes is the voice of the fish.
Yes.
I didn't realize that as a kid.
He also plays Humberflug.
Yes. Yes, he's the boss.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I just thought, oh man, I wanted to be featured more in this film. He is. And my goodness, what a great use of talent. I felt like he was so perfect for this role of a fish. Even if his short screen time as the boss, but to have him through the voice is genius. He makes every right choice, and his comedic timing is perfect as per usual.
The kids sign a contract with the cat, his lawyers looking on, that allows them to have as much fun as they want with no consequences, and thus the wild rumpus begins with the tornado of insanity in the forbidden living room. They wreck their mother's dress, they make the kitchen a mess, they cause the fish to No! I will not rhyme!
The cat tries to hold up his end of the bargain in keeping the kids out of trouble by opening up a red crate and releasing twin assistants, Thing 1 and Thing 2. The cat locks the crate after and tells the kids not to mess with it. It's a portal to his world. I thought he drove here. Whatever. The things are tasked with cleaning Joan's dress, but instead trash the house. It turns out that they always do the opposite of what they are told. Hark, Conrad, do you hear a lesson being imparted?
Some more questionable humor. The fish gets thrown into the toilet, which is where, according to him, they buried his brother. The cat complains about clowns with hepatitis.
Despite the cat's warning, things are getting too crazy. Conrad picks the lock on the cat's crate either out of curiosity or to try to get the things back inside. The lock, instead, latches onto the collar of Nevins, the Waldens' family dog, who runs off, leaving the box open to fester and smolder and squeal with increasing insanity and messiness. Conrad, Sally, and the cat give chase, only to discover a secret so horrific, so terrifying, so ugly, that it turns their world, their entire world, upside down.
Lawrence Conrad is a fraud.
Gasp!
Far from being the successful salesman he presents himself as, Larry is a rude, lazy, debt-riddled drifter who is trying to marry Joan for her money. He runs to kidnap Nevins in order to once again ingratiate himself to Mrs. Walden. Can he get there before the cat and the kids? I loved when Alec Baldwin pulls off his girdle and reveals his gigantic belly, and then they're repossessing his old TV and all of these sight gags. Some of them are a little questionable, but once again, that's not so bad compared to some of the other things that are in this movie. I think that is on par with the level of humor of The Grinch from 2000. That also had, I would say, quote-unquote adult humor, but not in the way that this has, which is more potty humor. That had humor that was aimed at adults, where you'd have adults kind of keeping up with the Joneses with one another, and they had someone who had a gun that shot all the lights onto their house so that they didn't have to climb up and, staple them all up there. That's the kind of humor that I would expect out of this. And here, it would, I wouldn't say it's appropriate for kids, but it's not inappropriate for kids either.
I agree. And I think that Alec really takes his character to the next level, which is so fun to watch. It could have just been this but every little thing he adds just makes it shine and makes his character so memorable.
This is also a place where I feel the cat is doing the best, and we can see this later on when we recognize his machinations, why he has come to impart this. He says, I only really have one rule, don't do this, and that, meaning the lock, and Conrad, of course, goes to pick the lock, and that kind of sets everything into motion. Looking back on it, I can see a few more tendrils there. It's buried under a morass of humor that is just too much. As short as this film is, I think it's only 82, 83 minutes long. There's a lot that's thrown in there. And if they could just kind of, scraped a little bit off, you would have a much stronger film. And I get it. The impetus is to build out from a very, very short book. But there's just a lot thrown in here.
This is true. It just feels sort of like things are being thrown at the wall to see what sticks rather than succinctly chosen. And
yeah.
I feel like Mike Meyers has totally the facilities to really pick what will work. And so this just being a barrage of, I don't know, just sticky stuff with all these little visual gags too. It was a lot. But what I really enjoyed and what I wish they had more of, which I think you sort of said, was these more serious moments with the cat in the hat, because he'll come down, Mike will, and you're like, and I really enjoyed that. And seeing him sort of walk about the town, I sort of wish we would have gotten there sooner, because in the house it gets a little with all the, sparkle and spangles. And
I think you were speaking to, we needed to get to the town earlier, and I kind of agree. At the same time, the house is a set, and so they can control it a lot more, and so they can have those bigger numbers. And anytime we have a bigger number, a la the rave that we get to later on, it's an interior so that they can control it more. They did a lot of painting on the exteriors, which actually held out for a period of time amongst locals, and it makes the world feel lived in, but it's much more expensive to shoot that. I do understand. This is already an incredibly expensive film. $109 million budget at this time is about $218 million in today's money. So even though they had a big budget, they were probably also still let's try to control it where we can.
Kat, Conrad, and Sally run through suburbia, trying to find Nevins. On the way, they discover that Sally has been left out of the birthday party of a classmate, Denise. All of her friends are in there, but Sally, ever the stickler, wasn't wanted. The trio try to sneak around, but the cat is nabbed and turned into a piñata. Guess where the big boy of the group decides to smash the cat with his baseball hitter thingy.
2 balls and you're out! We get quick cutting back and forth as the various individuals in this film try to assert sanity. Good luck. Joan calls Mrs. Kwan to see if everything is okay, but the things are great at disguise and puppeteering, so nobody is the wiser. Conrad and the cat try to track Nevins, while Sally bemoans the fact that nobody wanted her at the party. Larry, meanwhile, locates the dog and makes off with it. This requires a high-speed chase.
No budget.
Okay, a slow-speed chase, literally, in the cat's SLOW vehicle. Luckily, it's got gadgets and powers aplenty, and soon the cat tricks Larry into giving up Nevins. There's yet another chase, this time on foot, as the kids and the cat disappear into a phone booth or whatever, only to find that it's an entrance to an underground Seuss-inspired rave that allows them to flee. But you can bet that this ain't over You can bet that this ain't over right now.
Special effects here, particularly for the crate, are mixed.
Yeah, there's a lot of CGI and there's a lot of practical effects here, and they don't always mesh all that well together.
Maybe this is why Gen Z, that's older now, we like speakeasies, you know? Things that you don't think are things, but they are things. Like that underground rave club situation, phone booth situation.
Wait, time out. Do you think that Gen Z and Gen Alpha invented speakeasies and underground rave clubs and everything?
What I'm saying is maybe this movie is why we like them. We're like, oh my god, that's so cool! Whole rave club underground. Like, what? How did they even get down there? It's just a phone booth that was there, like a slide. Maybe this is why. Maybe this is why I like them.
Liz, you are at the exact age at which point I was going to speakeasies and going to underground raves and everything. This is just a early 20s thing.
This is just like an example showing you what it could be. Okay, Steele.
The cat's car's name was originally the Super Hydraulic Instantaneous Transporter. Look to the acronym and remember that this is supposedly a family movie. Other notes along this line: the dog peeing everywhere, the cat puking into a vomit bag, the fish wetting himself, and the cat ogling the real-life Paris Hilton who was here for a cameo.
When I saw this, I screamed. I always saw a pretty lady, like pretty blonde girl, like in the thing, never once crossed my mind. I was like, Paris Hilton, what are you doing here? That's hot.
I actually really dug the cat dressing up like a hippie and calling a dog a canine American. It's stupid, I know. When Mike Meyers wants to, he can impersonate anybody.
That was so funny. Literally, the image of the cat in the hat with dreads and this big hole is seared into my brain. So stupid. It's so stupid. It's funny, but it's so stupid.
Well, him hearing, and please, this gigantic pen that requires two hands. I mean, like, it's...
I like to call a canine American. How much is that canine American in the window?
Once again, it's played straight. It's not straight, but he's not mugging towards the camera. He's like winking, like, haha, get it? Those are the moments where this film actually works. And there's no, like, that's quote unquote adult humor. Like, kids aren't going to recognize what that's about. Adults will like that, and yet it's still silly. That's the kind of humor that this film needs, not more poop jokes, you know.
Yeah.
Lawrence gets to Joan and tattles on the children like the spoiled, lazy kid that he is. Joan, aghast, leaves work, only to be waylaid. Conrad bemoans how all of this has come about, wondering why he always does the opposite of what he's told. And that's when he remembers. The things! He commands them to not help them out, and immediately the things are there in Larry's car, helping them charge back home as the things themselves impersonate cops to slow down Joan. If you want something done right, do it yourself. Larry decides to race back to the Walden home to confront Conrad, Sally, and the cat on his own.
The things being cops, and then one of them being like, let's do this, Chocolate Thunder. Mm-hmm. And then the cops I think is one of the most hilarious parts. And he takes registration and he eats registration at the end. It's so funny. The things are so scary looking. Like, they're so uncanny valley. Do you know anything about who played?
Yes, the things were played by two different individuals for each thing. So Danielle, I'm not going to get this name right, Kukran, and Taylor Rice were thing 1, and Brittany Oakes and Talia Lynn Prairie were thing 2. So they were able to swap out because they had so much makeup on, and that makeup took forever to put on and take off. You know, it took hours for Mike Meyers, so I can only imagine what that was like. And Dan Castellaneta provided the voice for the things. He's the voice of Homer Simpson, among many, many other characters.
Larry is uncontrollably allergic to cats. Not a great plan. He grabs the kids as they enter to find a perfectly clean house? Hardly. When the cat appears and causes Larry to sneeze, the man falls backward and reveals that the clean house was just a gigantic painting covering the mother of all messes. According to the cat, This is what happens when you mess his world with our world, or when you have bad shellfish. Imagine if Dr. Seuss took LSD and then drew a landscape for Clive Barker. You're about halfway there. The cat, Conrad, and Sally commandeer Mrs. Kwan, riding her like a log flume attraction through the chaos until they finally reach the crate.
Yeah, this is a funny bit.
I forgot that this happened. So when it happened on screen, I literally jaw on the floor. I was laughing so hard. I forgot they used poor Mrs. Kwan. Oh, I love her. She's a diva.
No. The cat calls out the fact that this flume ride that he and the kids go on would go great at Universal Studios. Watching this segment of the film, I have to think that Universal Studios really was banking on this movie doing great numbers so they could build a theme park attraction based on this. I also dug the ride gags throughout this. The cat giving a souvenir photo and bemoaning the fact that its eyes were closed. Really funny stuff.
I thought, yes, this was hilarious to me. I actually just went to Universal recently, and so it literally only made me want to go back. The Dr. Seuss world is exactly like the movie. It's adorable. I loved it.
Conrad and Sally race to the crate, which is swirling with a vortex above it as it spews the cat's world into the human one. Sally is nearly swept away, but Conrad manages to put the lock on the crate before she's lost forever. The house begins to collapse back into reality, which is a gigantic mess. Sure, it's not a multidimensional tesseract that would cause Salvador Dali to blush, but it's still going to ruin everything for their mother.
The kids turn on the cat, who reveals that he had planned this whole day to get the kids out of their funk. Rather than be happy about this, the kids yell at the cat and order him out. The siblings commiserate and regret the errors of their ways, neither of them willing to let the other take the entire fall. Much like the ending of Willy Wonka, this morality twist proves to be the final test. The cat returns.
Good Studio Ghibli movie, by the way.
And, with a cleaning invention, returns the house to its rightful order thanks to the contract the kids signed. He checks them with the phonometer and finds out that they're both just right.
One gag I like here that highlights the flaws throughout the rest of the film. The cat celebrates by saying, I did it. When the kids give him an evil look, he says, okay, fine, we did it. I like that characterization. The cat is an overgrown kid who doesn't understand social cues. He's not mugging for the camera. He's embodying an element of childhood and, not so subtly, teaching the kids about their own morality.
I'm not going upstairs. 1, the stairs are destroyed.
Such a great line from Sally. I wished for more of the arc from the siblings too, particularly at the end. Conrad tells Sally to let go of his hand during the vortex so he can close the box. Sally almost is sucked up into a tempest of doom. Wouldn't the better choice have been Conrad refusing to let go of Sally no matter what, and somehow finding a way to close the crate without potentially sacrificing her?
I literally did not even think of that. I was going to say I loved how well the kids handled this scene. You know, I was stressed as a kid. And I thought maybe like the let go symbolized that she could trust Conrad now, that she could let go of her type A-ness a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, the alternative of being sucked up into an abyss is that's a little jarring. Yeah, I don't think they have as much of an arc as they can by the end here, but they do stick together.
Yeah.
And they truly see the error of their ways.
I like Sally. I wish I could have seen her be a little bit more of a friend and like grow in that capacity, because that's what she's missing. And Conrad, he's a little bit too much of a jerk up front. And so by the time he's at the end, like, I don't understand why Sally's sticking with him. It's still there. I just feel like it's clunky.
The kids, having realized the error of their ways, reconcile with the cat, who departs just before their mother arrives. Joan is surprised to find the house in order. So is Larry. He wasn't subsumed in an ocean filled with horrific nightmare creatures. No, he was merely covered in goo.
Something that I can relate to after a weekend at my fraternity house. Larry tries to tell Joan about the cat, the chaos, and Conrad, but Joan doesn't believe him. Larry's dumped, the party goes off without a hitch, and the family is made whole. With their lessons taught, the cat and his things walk down the street toward their next adventure.
The film goes by at rocket pace.
Yes.
I was having trouble keeping up while writing my notes. It would have been faster than I remembered. I felt maybe it served the story, but to have no rest or control, I don't think I enjoyed that aspect of it.
It's very busy. Very, very, very busy. And it feels like they have to fill this, but it's not that long of a film. I wish, like we said, that they'd trimmed a little bit, particularly some of the off humor, and let some of the other parts breathe. There's that great moment where the kids are waiting for the door to open and you think it's the mother and it's the cat. And like, that's a great moment where the film slows down, and it could have a couple more of those moments.
Also, something you wrote in your notes but you didn't say was the reconciliation with Sally about her friends.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even think about that. We never come back to that.
Nope.
Never. I guess it's just supposed to be like, oh, we realize now she's not going to be a stick in the mud anymore. She's going to just relinquish some of her control.
I think a better choice would have been for them racing back and for her friends to see what's going on, and she asks for their help, and you think that they're not going to say yes, but in fact they say, yeah, sure, and they help out, and you find out that maybe her invitation got lost in the mail, or it's like all in her mind that her friends don't like her, and...
Steele! That would make this...
And then you have the kid with the bat, like, hit Alec Baldwin a few times,
Oh my God, because he's just like a weird purple guy.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Wait.
Another pinata!
Steele. Oh my God, Steele. That. No, I think that kid's scarred after hitting the cat. He's like, ah! I really love the cleaning montage. I think this might be why I love satisfying cleaning videos. I was so distraught as a kid when all hope was lost, and I think that has to do a lot with how the kids played it. Even though I knew help would come, I still felt the bleakness that children felt.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That rising ichor in your gullet as a kid when you realize, oh man, I have to face my father, I have to face my mother because I did something really wrong. Yeah. And that the cat comes back and is like, yep, this is what you needed to do, this is what you needed to learn, and go about it. It's heavy-handed, but so is Willy Wonka. And I think that I'm going to criticize a lot about this film. I'm not going to criticize that ending. I didn't buy Joan's transformation, though. Dumping Larry, sure, he's covered in goo and crazy, but she says that she knows her son is a good kid. He has shown her literally nothing but naughtiness up to this point. Maybe he is a good kid. Maybe she feels guilty for having said that she wishes that he had a different mother sometimes. Ooh, okay. At this point, Conrad better remember this moment with his mother thinking about him for the rest of his life, like Richard Nixon. My mother was a saint.
I think it serves the story that she flips so quickly, to make things wrap up a little nicer. But also, she does have her doubts during the whole film. When Lawrence is bringing up military school, you see her cringe every time.
Yeah, but I think the stronger choice would be for her to consider it and then think there need to be moments where she thinks back to when Conrad gave her a Valentine's gift or a Mother's Day gift, or that she still sees the little boy that she loves in him despite his naughtiness.
Right, like we're just supposed to know. I want to talk about the absolute madman that is Alec Baldwin. Yes, he just, again, like I said before, leans into the character, brings to a new level. I remember being so disgusted by him, hating him so much, and I feel the exact same way in the best way possible. What a great villain.
Trivia. The hype was so hot for Cat in the Hat that a sequel movie based on the sequel book The Cat in the Hat Comes Back was already being planned by the studio prior to the release of the film. The horrific reaction to the initial film was so bad that Theodore Geisel's widow refused to participate and didn't allow any further adaptation in her lifetime. Of note, prior to the filming, Mrs. Geisel was worried about the potty humor of the script. What can I say?
Mike Meyers claimed that his approach to the cat was inspired by Bugs Bunny, Top Cat, and especially the Cowardly Lion from The Wizard of Oz. Myers said that he loved how the tale of the lion seemed to have a mind of its own.
Writers Alec Berg, Jeff Schaefer, and David Mendel had done extensive script doctoring on How the Grinch Stole Christmas, but had been denied credit by the Writers Guild of America for reasons too complicated to go into here. They were hired in full for this film and worked a lot of their rejected material on that movie into this one.
Conrad didn't have a name in the original book, as he was the narrator. In a later Dr. Seuss book, Oh Say Can You Say Dinosaur, it is revealed that the boy's name is actually Dick, as an in-joke for Dr. Seuss's inspiration, or anti-inspiration from Dick and Jane.
Tim Allen was initially set to star as the cat in this film. He eventually bowed out, was kicked out, couldn't appear due to his commitment to the Santa Claus 2, or whatever. Interestingly, Spencer Breslin, who also appeared in Santa Claus 2, had no problem appearing in this movie. Sources vary about how this all went about.
Sources also vary as to why Mike Myers wanted in. There was so much enthusiasm when his cast announcement was made, with Myers admitting that The Cat in the Hat was the first book he ever read. But a few sources have said that he was legally obligated due to a complex legal agreement that came about after the film adaptation of his Sprocket sketch fell through. Maybe not. Hollywood is weird, man.
There was a lot of other controversy on set, or so many people claim. It's not unusual for a box office bomb to suddenly have everybody remember how this actor or that director was a nightmare, with nary a word being spoken ahead of time. It's certainly true that money salves many wounds, while people point fingers when things go sour. Success has many parents, but failure is an orphan. We won't go into specifics here, but you can Google it and make your own decisions.
$55,000 worth of props were stolen from the film set. They were later recovered in a dumpster covered in graffiti.
There were numerous delays in production due to notes, numerous takes, and other issues. Fog was a constant problem, requiring a digitally colored sky and background colors.
When driving the SLOW, Conrad and Sally make engine noises with their mouths. According to either early drafts or a deleted scene, depending on your source, this is what powers the vehicle. The louder the kids get, the faster it goes.
Director Bo Welch defends the film to this day, saying that, quote, "It's weird and funny and anarchic. There's a craziness to it that I think people embrace," unquote. Alec Baldwin similarly defended the film in its DVD commentary.
Randy Newman was set to score the film, but was dropped when his work was deemed inferior. Steele's going to make a joke here that we're going to cut. Instead, his cousin David took up the role as composer.
The film was nominated for 9 Razzie Awards, winning for Worst Excuse for an Actual Movie, All Concept, No Content.
Pros. Alec Baldwin and Sean Hayes are major standouts for me. They sell their caricature part so well and add a shine that brings these characters to life.
Spencer Breslin and Dakota Fanning are great in their roles, particularly Dakota Fanning. So is Alec Baldwin, but I expect that from him. The kids steal this show.
Yes, I don't think this film works without our siblings. These two are so grounded in their choices, and they have full understanding of the story and their part in it.
Visuals, direction, cinematography, and editing are all great. Occasionally, there are some odd stutters and flips when things get a little too slapstick for reality, but I dug the visuals a lot. Of particular note, there are a lot of shots that are dead on with the characters, which then flip 180 degrees. This can be very disorienting in most films, but I find that it works here because it's supposed to be chaos.
The fully realized world, there is no mistaking it. You can look at one frame and know exactly what movie you're watching, maybe even the color palette. Steele, have you seen those art pieces that are just color grabs from every shot of a film?
Yes.
Oh, my God, they're so cool. I want one. I want Twister so bad. This was a huge plus for me.
When the movie is allowed to be itself and not try to woo the audience by winking at the camera, I feel it does a good job. I like the zaniness of it, particularly at the moments like the underground party, which is so off the wall and yet feels right with the tone.
The self-awareness of the film is a major up point. We already know the movie isn't going to take itself too seriously, and this just lets us in on the joke right away.
Most of the sets don't feel too crazy, and though the backgrounds had to be painted, that also feels like a part of the world. I was only unsettled by a few of the more extreme pieces at the climax of the film, which really did feel like a ride at Universal Studios, and not in a good way.
I like the ending part, though.
I like it. It's just a little much.
Yes, but I felt it was a culmination of all the off-the-wallness we'd been experiencing.
Yeah.
The costuming, I really love it. It's super distinctive. I love the attention to detail and how everyone was given different color palettes. Like, you could just take, the actors away and see their costumes and be like, oh, that's Sally. Oh, that's Conrad. I have to say that the pros are the iconic moments in the film. They've stood the test of time, and when the humor is good, it is good. Cons.
I feel that they could have established the cat better. 1 minute, this is a surreal but fairly standard suburban story. The next, we have a very weird world that only ratchets up. By the time we have the things, I'm back on board, but it felt very off for a while.
Pacing. We have very little I'm proud still. And I guess we aren't necessarily meant to have it because the cat's supposed to symbolize chaos, but I think we could have had a few breaks in between. Jeez.
I wanted more from the kids, particularly Conrad at the beginning of the film. He just seems like a complete a-hole. He's really too old to be doing the opposite of what his mom says. I'm not saying military school was the way to go, but he had major behavioral issues that made me dislike his characterization from the start.
The feeling that this film was throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and seeing what stuck. All the gags were fully realized, but I can't say all added to the humor of the film. In fact, at some points, it detracted from your enjoyment of watching.
I have to say that this film expands the content of the book to the breaking point. The live-action Grinch did this as well, but it made the wise decision to front-load that content so that the back half was essentially the book. So if you don't want any of that context jazz, you can just toss it out. Here, this is a morality play that is stretched out a lot, and it's not even an hour and a half. Mike Meyers is great at some points, but when he's allowed to mug for the camera, it gets really old really quickly. Finally, I was a huge fan of Ren and Stimpy as a kid. That show had more scatological humor than you could shake a stick at, including skinny dipping, eating kitty litter, using kitty litter as medicine, Stimpy giving birth to a fart, said fart marrying a dead goat's head before moving into the nose of Wren, eating dirt and winding up with a belly full of worms, bees breaking off their stinger in Wren's mouth and exposing their guts, and too many other elements to mention. My point is that was designed in that way. The Cat in the Hat is supposed to be a gentle, sweet tale, so when people complain about the style of humor in this, I 100% get it.
Wow, you really know Ren and Stimpy.
You idiot!
Personal opinion.
I'm going to start here, since Liz is going to take the lead during the tango that is the verdict. And I'm going to say that I was fully expecting a horrific piece of utter schlock. And this film is much more of a mixed bag than you'd imagined. Yes, there's utter insanity at points, toilet humor, and some very odd acting choices. But I didn't hate the time I spent watching it. That it's so short works in its favor too. I think once is enough for me with 2003's The Cat in the Hat. It's not the utter dreck I was expecting. I know that's not a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, this one took me on a roller coaster ride. I used to love it as a kid, but felt like I was being thrown into the deep end here. There are some very iconic bits that still hit, arguably in a different way, now that little Liz is all grown up. I do enjoy how self-aware the movie was, fourth wall breaking, even the casual ad for Universal. I think it let us in a way, in such an important way. And that addition, I feel, is why it has resonated with young audiences into adulthood. We were right there with these kids. You know, I was never a major Cat in the Hat fan like I thought I was. And you know what? I'm still not. But what a wild and crazy time that I will revisit maybe someday far, far, far down the line.
The verdict. The critics in the crowd are divided. The Cat in the Hat has had a resurgence among audiences after bombing 23 years ago, with 58% of audiences taking a shine to Mr. Meyers' performance as Dr. Seuss's lovable feline. Critics remain steadfast, however, and only 10% approve. Where do you fall, Liz? Is this a cat or a hat?
I really thought I was going to fall in line with my audience, but after my rewatch, I can't say that I do. I recommended this literally as like 6-year-old Liz to you, Steele. I'm sorry. But you know what? I don't think it was as bad as critics say. It was all a bit much for me. You know what? I'm going to say neither. This film will get 2 kind of Liz stars. 2 full big belly laughs and 1 raised eyebrow.
I'm also going to go neither here. 58% is way too high, and 10% is way too low. Would you rather watch this or Prom Night again?
Prom night every day.
That was not where I thought that was
I'm
going.
going to start with the time of the season. You start that and I am like, oh my god, it's Halloween, it's fall, everything is good and right in the world.
Wait, that's Prom Night?
Yeah, they have the time of the season right at the beginning.
Oh, okay. In any case, I was going to compare this film positively to Prom Night because I felt it had no structure to it whatsoever. This film has a structure to it. It just has too much stuff on it and completely sags and it's inappropriate at places. Once again, that 10% score is really reserved for films that really, really, really miss the mark in terms of the basics. This is a competently made film. I feel that just there's too much excess. It doesn't understand its demographic. If I had to give it a grade, I'd give it a hair under 2 stars. Pretty much like right along your lines, Liz. Probably about 40% or so. And that does it for our take in The Cat in the Hat. Tune in next episode as we indulge in more films and media that divide audiences, hopefully without so many boner jokes aimed at children. Last licks of this cat, Liz, or are you ready to puke up a hairball?
Now I want to see that Carmen Miranda costume hung up in a museum somewhere.
I wonder if there's a butthole cut of The Cat in the Hat.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Turn off the damn computer, Steele.
The Critics in the Crowd is hosted by Liz Ramirez and Steele Philippek. Editing and production handled by Steele. Social media by Wendy Dobkin. Logo by Aria Feliciano. Music by Joel Studler, provided by a Humble Bundle. All audio effects are sourced through freesound.org and used under the Creative Commons license. If you feel that we used a piece of audio to which you own the rights, please email helmstarmedia@gmail.com.
This episode was recorded at the Communipub branch of the Jersey City Public Library. Special thanks to Kyle Ramsey and all of the amazing librarians at this location throughout the United States and throughout the world.